Okay, so here we have the payroll processing tool. I'm going to demonstrate how it works out and how it has been set up to basically print out the pay slips for employees, for the given period, and at the same time you'd also be able to send out an email to those employees along with the pay slip. So that's about it. It's just a part of a larger process where various timesheets are received every period. There are different holidays list for each of the states and different pay rates for a different level of employees, and everything has to be taken into consideration to run the timesheet data, process it, and then create a final table, periodic table per employee to see what was the gross payment, what were the deductions, what was the net payment, etc. And all of these include the background processing of the data transformations around calculating the different pay rates based on the different dates. If they work on a weekend or if they work on a holiday, they are allowed for certain allowance rates are there to calculate, etc. So I have set it up with Power Query. I was doing it using a VBA, but since Power Query came into picture, I thought it would be a better and easier way to manage this entire process and the tool as well. So in this version of the tool, we are going to use Power Query. So this is the interface that you can utilize to print the pay slips and send out the emails. As you can see, you have various buttons and then different sections to select your source files. So the first one is the source name. It is just a tagging around the file names or the type of source that you receive your timesheet data from. Then the folder that you can select to save your PDF files, your pay slips for employees. This is the input file, the gross payroll report that you have for employees. You can browse and select your file. Then employee list. This is nothing but the employee dim table. You have all the information around the email addresses, account numbers, and all the other basic information around employees you'll have in this file. Placement deduction, it's just a type of deduction, and for each period that has to be considered while creating the final pay slips or the time statement. Course fee as well. So these are different type of deductions that you have to consider. Now this is the FNE date and then the ABA payment date that you have. Okay, one thing to notice is it does not only creates the pay slips and sends them out as an email, but it also creates various other templates. Those templates which would be needed for your banking system, such as ABA format, where you have the employee name, account number, and rest of the information around the bank payments. It also creates templates around the data that will go into your CRM systems. So it has that option. It can export those files as well. Now if we want to create or process a new period data or for a set of new employees, you just have to select all your source files and hit refresh, which will refresh the queries and transform the data which is needed for the payslip template to be printed. Basically everything has to be cleaned up. The looked up information has to be collected, such as different pay rates for different shifts, because the payslip is being printed shift wise. So let's take a look at the payslip template. We need to set it up initially when we are working through the tool. So this is the payslip template. It includes the different day wise what shifts and how many hours, what was the payroll rate, and what is the gross payroll, along with the basic information of the employees. And the beauty of this payslip template is that I'm using a very simple VBA procedure to update the numbers here in this cell. As in, when you update the numbers, everything gets updated. So it's really very fast in processing. It prints around 55 to 60 payslips a minute, which is one payslip per second. So that's blazing fast and a great improvement from the previous tool that I had developed, which was producing at around 10 payslips a minute. So a VBA loop will run from 1 to this is the total count, which is already being populated by a formula, and it will run a loop and update the numbers here, print this range as PDF as a payslip, and you'll see that there are some bottom line calculations as well, and this has to be considered based on what was the deduction in that particular month. There are different various rules that we have to consider, and this payslip will be printed as a PDF. So if I go here and click on generate payslips, it would ask, do you really want to start from the beginning, or if you want to print certain range. In this case, I'll just say yes, and we'll start printing the payslips, and it gives you the progress here, printing which number of payslip out of how many payslips. I'll stop this here, and then I'd like to show the way PDF is being printed. So if we look at one printed payslip, this is how it comes up. So you have everything in place, and these would be sent out to the employees in an email once you click the email button. I'm going to stop this process. We'll go back to Excel, and so that's about printing the payslip. When you click on send emails, it will start sending emails. You have the option to export various templates, and I have used minimum, or I would say minimal VBA scripting in this one. VBA has been used only to do certain tasks which cannot be achieved using Power Query, and all the data transformation related steps, or the logic related steps, I have done in our queries that we have here. I would like to show the query setup that I have done. So as you would have noticed, I'm taking the input from the users around the file paths, and those can be set up as parameters. We can pick it up from the Excel sheet that has been selected by the users, and then I have a few parameters for certain date values which I'm using in the calculations in our queries to do certain calculated columns around deductions and payroll rate, etc. So these are all the transform data sets. You can see these are the transformation steps that I have used. I have done grouping of the rows, and then I have merged queries to get certain information. In this particular example, I'm getting the placement deduction. I'm calculating what would be the placement deduction for each of the applicable employees, and that's what we have here. And later I'll pull this information into the master data set that we have, that we're using for the payslip template. There are various things. I'm not going to go into the details. So as you see, the rate of pay description, we have to match from the timesheet data and then get it exactly that way, so that we have a cleaned up invoice description on the invoice template that we're generating. This is the invoice table, the final table that is exported as a template. So that's about queries. We can take various inputs, we can put in all the logics that we want to, or we can do all the data transformations, and using this interface you can finally process all of it. So that's about it. Let me know if you have any questions.